dear chess friends. Once again, I'm here with Richard Buono, and we continue discussing the subtleties of the psychology and how we can use the approaches advocated by modern psychology in order to boost our chess performance. Last time, we started dealing with the very interesting subject of hypnosis. And actually, Richard provided the foundations of this approach and also one starting protocol that everyone can use just to see how the entire concept works. But now we are going to examine the subject in a lot more detail. We will see how exactly to apply the concept of self-hypnosis and how this concept can help us boost our results in chess. Richard, it's a great pleasure having you with me today. Welcome again.
Thank you very much. I'm very pleased to be here with you, and thanks for the invitation. I'm very glad to share all these knowledge and techniques for the chess player, improving the capability and the performance.
Thank you very much. So after building the basic protocol that everyone can follow, now it's time to delve into some more specific techniques. So my question is quite logical. What is the next step?
So we have now a tool which is ready to use according to the needs. The principle is that we have a preparation, which we were into details last time, explaining how to prepare yourself, which drives you to this hypnotic state, which is a light state in some ways to say it. This light state allows you to go now deeper and create a specific protocols that will fit your needs. This is the principle. Then you will use different protocols after this preparation phase according to what you need to do and what is the purpose of this session, hypnotic session. This is like this that works every auto-hypnosis work.
That's great. So before we start with some more specific advices, can you very briefly summarize the main steps in the basic protocol, just to be sure that everyone is on the same page?
Of course. Of course, I do recommend you get back to the previous video. That would be, of course, detailed. But wrapping up the most important things, you need a preparation where there is first good conditions. You have to be in a quiet place. You have to handle your environment. Of course, no telephone, no dogs, no whatever thing. You have then 3 phases. The very first consists on relaxing every part of your body from the bottom to the top. You have to visualize every part of your body, and you have to relax them. You have to find a posture where you can release everything without falling, without having any tension, and you visualize every part of your body, relaxing the muscles, and also creating a sort of fusion, with where you lean at, if you're on a chair or in a bed, whatever position you choose. The second step will consist on controlling the breathing. You have to imitate the sleeping breeze. It's something like I explained in the previous video that we drive you to a sort of change of your entire rhythm. basically you lure your own mind thinking you're sleeping. And you will reach another step in relaxation at this stage, which will create a sort of catalepsis. You will less and less feel your body then. It will look like a stone, because, of course, this is exactly what happens when you start to sleep. You don't feel your body the same way, and even sometimes you don't feel it anymore. Then you reach the third state, which consists on relaxing your mind. And there is several options for that. You can use an active way. Basically, the active way is to picture a place you like, inserting, let's say, all the feelings that every sense can perceive. For instance, you visualize a beach, a sandy beach with the sun. You feel the wind on your face. You feel the heat of the sand under your feet. You feel the smell of, I don't know, the green, everything, and the sea also. You know, the iodic smells. You can hear maybe the seagulls. You can be fully in a sort of immersion of the picture you created. And for this, you have to choose something you like. A good souvenir, for instance, of a place you've been that where you have been very much relaxed, or a place that you create yourself because just you like it. And this could be very interesting then to feel in this immersive state. The other way is a passive way. The passive way is a bit more complicated, but it has the advantage of creating much deeper states of relaxation, because you obviously understand that if you are in an active action, you will have some tension inside, even if it's light. The passive way is just to think about nothing precise, because you cannot just have a void in your mind. It's impossible. You will have, let's say, the feeling of thoughts that are passing, you know, like clouds in the sky, but you don't concentrate of any of these thoughts. It's like you're dreaming, but without, let's say, any impulsion. It's the same that you try when you want to fall asleep. You release everything from your mind without having, let's say, approaching any of these thoughts or building any thoughts. It's quite difficult to understand, but it's a kind of opening of your mind without creating any sort of thinking. Okay? After time, a certain time, you start to master this technique, and then it creates very deep relaxation. So from this last stage, you're ready to start the scenario that you planned to do according to your need.
I see. It was very useful to remind all these basic ideas. And as far as I understand, when we manage to enter such a state of deep relaxation, our brain is quite able to absorb any kind of narrative that we are going to give it. So here it comes. Our next step, what techniques you're going to examine today?
So the very first thing you have to know is, what is your goal? Because according to the goal, you will have to start a scenario constructed specifically for this goal. Let's take an example.
Winning the next tournament or winning the next game.
Okay. This is quite a wide goal, because winning a tournament is construction of several action. Okay.
Yeah.
You have to be very careful when you create your goal, because you have to, let's say, separate different phases that leads to the goal. You can have a very positive mind, which is a background state that you want to create through this exercise. That is something like, I am the very best and I will win. But this is a background action, let's say, because this is a medium-term goal. It's not a short-term goal. The short-term goal is what you're going to do tomorrow or tonight, not by the end of the week, which is medium already for me. But this is very interesting that you mentioned this, because, in fact, you have to make a difference between what's the next action to perform, which create a state for a short term. This is tomorrow morning, tomorrow, or an identified specific short-term action, a game, for instance, that you're going to play tomorrow. And what is much behind, which is, for instance, the result of multiple actions that will end, for instance, after a period like several days, week, month, years. Okay? So it is a bit different way to handle. But let's say that you have to feel like you have several layers. You have the background layer that creates a positive attitude, okay, for the tournament. And you have the front layer, which is what is the next step, having this background. Okay? So, for instance, what is the supposed best next step? In this case, you are playing a tournament. This would be to be in the best shape, mindset, properly settled performance to play the next game. Okay? So then you can, for instance, work on the memory aspect if you want to insist on the memory, the performance aspect if you wish to have strong, let's say, physical capabilities of not being tired after 1 hour or 2 hours, or you can focus on your opponent also, because maybe your opponent has beaten you several times and you're scared about this guy. And you need to have a proper mindset to be able to fight without, let's say, a disadvantage of being scared of him. So you can see that there's a lot of things. Okay.
Indeed.
So you have to choose or create a scenario maybe that takes into consideration several aspects. My advice is to use the most important for you, not maybe everything. Okay, you want to be a superhero with all the superpowers. Okay, but there is, most of the time before going to the table, one important thing you need. And this is this one we are going to choose. For instance, you, Grigor, what is your main concern in the first round of a tournament?
Of course. Okay, so we should carefully select our goals. Our goals should be concrete and realistic, of course.
Absolutely, because I remind you that hypnosis is not going to something you don't have, to have something you don't have. Yeah. It is increasing your capabilities at the maximum of your potential. Okay? It's not a magic wand. You're not going to speak Russian if you never learned the language, eh?
Okay, so let's create, if you want, a typical scenario, some example of scenario with a simulation of one possible goal that a chess player might have before a game or before a tournament. Yeah, the goal will be completely random, and we can just give an example.
Okay. Let's, for instance, take an example about the background thing first, and then we go to the foreground.
Very well.
The background would be to be in good shape. Okay. Let's put it a very simple goal. You want to be in a good shape for your tournament.
But even this sounds a bit broad, I mean, right?
Yeah, but we can arrange good shape by having a good stamina, a good physical condition. Okay.
Okay.
Because of course you consume a lot of energy when you play chess, and stamina is important. You have to be in a if you're tired, of course, it is going to lower the performance.
Obviously, yeah.
Okay, so when you reach the state of the phase 3 of the preparation, you're like a computer that can receive a program which will be executed. So you have to create a scenario. For instance, I'm going to give you a typical scenario. You find yourself imagining that you are in a room, and in this room, you're alone. You can imagine blank walls, a little light, maybe blue light, for instance, which create a halo blue, And you imagine then that you are very relaxing. You created a very simple room. It's so easy to focus. It's important. The more simple it is, the best it is, because it generates some effort if you multiply the details. The more details you have, the more complex is the image, and the more effort you need to maintain in your mind this immersive picture. So a simple room with white walls and, let's say, a blue light. Then, for instance, what we need to do at this step is go deeper in your state of hypnosis. And you have to make an analogic action to create a symbol of going deeper. So for our example, I'm going to give you a typical way to do it is to take stairs going down. So you see stairs and you go down these stairs to another room. You have to visualize the stairs and count the stairs. Stair 1, 2, 3, and you imagine you go down the stairs. You start to see the room down, but you're not completely in it. And you continue in your mind imagining that you take these stairs down. It is very important to do that because, in fact, this creates a deeper state of hypnosis. You represent the action of going down the stairs as being a way to feel much more relaxed. So you will use in your mind a specific phrase. For instance, you're going to say, the more steps I go down, the much relaxed I feel. Step 1. Step 2. Every step down I go, I feel better. I feel with a much better energy. Every step down, count stair 4, stair 5. You can, for instance, you said that you had 10 stairs to go down, and you link a state with the action taken. You keep linking. I go down one stair and I feel suddenly like the feeling I am a bit better. Second stair. You have 10 stairs in advance because you decided this stairway is 10 stairs. Yeah. Okay. And when you go down the stairs, the more you go down, the more better you feel. And the more you have a wider view of the next room. Okay? Which will be another intermediate state that you want to reach. Okay? And so on and so on and so on. When you reach the last stair, you have to mention in your mind that now you have reached the proper state for a full regeneration. And for instance, in our scenario, we can imagine a little pool with water, for instance, with the blue liquid or whatever you like, with the blue halo as well. This is, you create what you like. I just give you an example, okay? But it is important to create objects that are simple and representative. Everybody taking a bath, for instance, is relaxing. Most of you. I mean, some others don't like, but if you don't like taking bath, for instance, you can choose another image. You can choose a shower. You can choose I don't know, a fan. Everybody choose what he wants. But the pool is a very much accepted by most of the people. So you see stairs going into the pool in the next room, and you know that this liquid will regenerate and gives you strength, will clear your mind, okay? Because you decided it's going to be the effect of this. You are the creator of this scenario. If you decide the pool will make you sleep, you will sleep. If you decide it's going to regenerate you, you will regenerate. You, the wizard of the place, okay? This is what is nice with hypnosis, is that you do what you want. Once you created a rule, you apply the rule because your mind will apply the rule you decided. So you see the pool, you are in this new room, and you walk down the little stairs leading in the pool, and you're yourself going into this liquid. And you can say you have the liquid at the hips level. You stop there, you wait, you feel the liquid. You must work in the active feeling on the senses, it's very important. And the more you go into this liquid, the more you feel better. Okay. And you decide to stay with the liquid up to the neck level, and you stay like this. You leave your mind flowing, relaxing. You feel the liquid into suspended, if I may say so, for instance. You visualize this blue halo, this blue glowing, let's say, light, and you stay like this. And every breeze, for instance, on every breeze, you feel better and better and better and better relaxed. Okay.
Yeah, very interesting.
So this is a very simple way to regenerate the resources. If you've been tired, you can adapt it because you were tired when you entered the room, and now you feel better and better and better. Depending on when you use the protocol. If you're using the protocol in your bed prior sleeping, you can leave it like this and fall asleep. And you wake up in the morning, relaxed. Okay. We will have a chance in the next videos maybe to talk about the way to launch a bottle in the water, like a message in the bottle, you send to your mind before going to sleep. And the action will take place in the night while you're sleeping. This is a bit the idea, but we will get back to this concept later. If you're not doing that before sleeping, you have to return, of course. You have several ways to return. You can return in an active way or return when you just wake up, when you just get back in control in your mind. My suggestion is to an active process. It's much better, I consider. So that is driving yourself back to the initial room. Yeah. It's not like waiting that you just want to get up. because you can alterate a bit the effect of the benefits of the protocol if you try to go too fast. Okay. So let's imagine a driven return. You are in the pool, you decide to exit this situation, the pool. So you imagine yourself taking these little stairs heading into the liquid up, and you get back on the side of the pool in this room, specific downstairs room. Then you take a few breezes and you lead yourself to the stairs that leads to the upper room, which will create a strong symbol of your mind leaving the deep state to coming back to a state which is more close of the normal state. Okay. And you reach these stairs, and then you take conscience of what you're doing. You say, every stairs I will step on, step up, will take me closer from the weakened state. Okay. And you do that mentally. You know you have 10 stairs to get back. 9th, 8th stair, and such and such. I feel more and more in control. I feel more and more close to my reality I left. Okay. And you do that, you start to see the walls of the first room where you come from with this blue glowing. Maybe you can choose another color down and up. It's all up to you to mentalize it. And when finally you reach the last stair, you think that you're very close to the awakened state. And then you can switch to revert the effect of the initial phase, which you already we did discuss in the previous video. Then you can, for instance, take the control of your breeze, saying it's not anymore a like I sleep breeze, but a regular breeze. You take a huge breeze, expiration, and then you say you count, for instance, up to 5, 10, whatever you like. You start to move your fingers. The fingers is a very good way to get back to reality. At the beginning, the fingers will look very, it's going to be difficult to move them. There's a very strong, you will feel like a piece of wood or stone. And when you reach, you're capable to move them, when you are able to produce this effort, this will take you to the reality and to the normal wakened state, okay? And then you will start to move your legs, your body, take another breeze, and when ready, open your eyes. And then you're back, okay? But with the whole benefit of the induction plus the suggestion you made to yourself, okay? So this is a typical example of a scenario.
Interrupting you, but when we are already done with this exercise, we can say that our brain has absorbed the message, the narrative that we wanted to transmit.
Yes.
Additionally, I have one, to say so, practical question. If one is experienced in doing this kind of exercise, usually how much time does it take?
It's a very interesting question because it depends on, first, how often you did it and what are the purposes. Like I said, if you want to make a driven return or if you want just to fall asleep, yeah? But usually it takes at least 5 to 10 minutes to reach the core of the scenario. Okay, for instance, in this case, you were in the pool after 10 minutes you started.
I see.
More or less. But if you're very used to do it, it could take 30 seconds, 1 minute.
This is impressive.
Yes, because
What
when
makes
you
the exercise extremely practical?
yes, like I said, maybe I think in one of the previous videos, all these protocols can be quite instant if you're very well trained, including when you are at the chessboard,
Yeah.
and nobody will notice because you will be able to do it with open eyes, with a noise, with lights, and nobody will ever think that you are in such a protocol.
So it basically means that in order to achieve this state of deep relaxation, especially when you're experienced in this, you don't even need a very calm environment without noises. You can just manipulate everything in yourself.
That is right. But of course, before reaching these capabilities, you need training.
Of course,
This is like this old story about Bobby Fischer that used to train in the chips factory, Okay. If he was able to get thinking with all this noise environment, it was much easier to go into deeper concentration in a quiet environment. Okay.
Just like Butvinnik wanted to play training games against a sparring partner who is constantly smoking in his face.
Yes, you have all these little tricks.
Yeah.
But my let's say, suggestion is that you train in a quiet condition, not to increase too much the difficulty of the exercise. So you take your time to understand what you can do, what is complicated, what maybe if you choose not, you did not choose the proper scenario, and then you can practice, And when you get ready, you have the exact scenario you like, then you switch onto a different environment and you try to do it in a shorter period, longer period, the way you like. Let me insist.
In my opinion, for the vast majority of our viewers, the most difficult part will be connected to relaxing the body at the beginning, because when you start doing that, then as unconsciously you have these thoughts running. Am I doing everything correctly? Did I make a mistake? And it's not so easy to get rid of these obsessive ideas.
I have a very simple example to illustrate what you just said. When you learn to drive a car, you are exactly in the same situation.
Yeah.
You have to think about what you see in the glass there, to switch the gear, to brake, to whatever, turn your head left, right. It's a lot of information you have to handle, and you have to act accordingly. The very first driving lessons you take. It's exactly the same here. At the beginning, you have to think about so many things. But after practicing, you will be able to do it without even thinking. Okay. And I use these techniques very often. Sometimes I have 8 patients per day. 8. 1 hour per person. Okay.
Yeah.
They come with their problems, and I have to help them. I have to listen carefully what they say. I start at 8 o'clock in the morning and finish at 6 o'clock at night. I have to treat every of them the same. The very first and the very last should be treated exactly with the same. I have to listen them. I have to take care of them. And this requires a lot of energy, because at the very beginning of the day, it's easy. But when you start 2, 3 o'clock after lunch, believe me, it's a strong effort. And I have to use these protocols to remain with the full potential. And sometimes I do it even during the session. and the guy, the person, the patient doesn't see it. But most of the time I do it in 5 minutes between two people, and it works very well. So you see, it depends. It depends. After practicing, you can be very fast. But at the very beginning, I could not do it. Of course, I have to take my time. And above all, and this is a very important thing I'm going to tell you, I give you an example, but you have to create your own scenario at the end. Maybe you like mine, but like I said, it has to be something comprehensive for you. If taking a bath is relaxing for you, fine. But suppose you're not, okay? Suppose you're someone that prefer at least to be in the sunny beach, okay? Choose that, okay?
Yeah.
You have just to think that taking the stairs leads to a beach. Suddenly you see a blue sky with a bright sun, because this is what you like, then go for it. And it is very important to understand that. You have a typical example, but from them you have to appropriate the things yourself. I mean, the one you feel corresponding to your personality and to your own sensitive experience. Yeah. So just think about, when is the last time, or what is the very best time you've been in your life relaxed, and you can get this image back as well. Okay. So you have plenty of choices.
Okay, very well. And this example was designed to illustrate a typical situation in which we can just program our minds to feel relaxed, to make sure that our general condition will be optimal for achieving a certain performance. And now we can, if you want, we can shift to something more concrete, how we can work with one concrete goal. Although I can intuitively understand that this will be some message incorporated in the scenario, and our brain is going to absorb the message. But for me, it will be very interesting to see a typical example from you.
Okay. Let's use an example of being certain that you will be able to use all your knowledge in the game. Because you might be scared about forgetting important analysis you did, or some variations, or some typical endings.
Forgetting the preparation is the biggest fear of the modern player. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to give you a protocol for that. Okay, right now.
Okay, that's great.
So you start. So we are still after the initial phase, and we start this specific protocol. Instead of going down to a room with a pool, okay, you use exactly the same, but the room will be a library.
Yeah.
And you imagine that every book you see on the shelves, you see a lot of books. The entire library is your own knowledge. So you state that all my chess knowledge is in this library. This means that everything you've seen in your life about chess, every variation you study, every game you witness, whatever thing, is in this library. So you have plenty of books. You can sit down in the middle of the library, take your time and watch all these books. Say, this is all my knowledge. Okay. And then you imagine that you want to remind something specific. Like, for instance, a game I played 1 month ago or whatever, and the analysis that goes with it. So you stand up, you go to a book, you choose the book, because the book you choose is going to be the one you want, for sure. you open the book and you make your reminding in the hypnosis state. You start to visualize the diagrams, the moves, everything. You mentally read the scenario. Remember, you will not be completely conscient. That means that it might be blurry in your mind. But be certain that it actively creates the proper connection in your mind and in your brain and in your memory. Be confident on that. Okay. Then you take back this book in the shelves and you sit down. And you can stay tomorrow when I will play. I will be in this library. And anytime I want to access a book, I will access a book. You see, this is a typical scenario where you picture access to all your knowledge. You have to strongly state that tomorrow I will be able to access any of these books. Be confident.
Yeah, guys, just if you start watching now, don't think that we are giving a protocol for cheating. This is.
I don't think that this has been foreseen in any FIDE rules, you know.
Because to somebody, the idea of being able to access our knowledge all the time might seem like a cheating, but here we are speaking about hypnosis.
Okay, but you can be more detailed. For instance, you say, the book I read a long time ago are much upper in the shelves, and the book I read yesterday are just in front of me. You can imagine you put these books up, down, to make them more accessible, okay? And put the one you have read lately a bit up, you know. You can do whatever you want. This is a suggestion for your mind to manipulate your knowledge, because this is the magic of hypnosis. You're creating analogy between reality, concrete reality, and what's going on into your mind. Okay?
Yeah. And
So,
just a small technical question. Of course, I think that it's obvious, but I want to confirm something for me. If you imagine that in this room there is a computer and the chess base is open on the computer, you sit on the chair and open a given file that is useful for you tomorrow, then you can repeat exactly the same procedure by following your own rules, right?
I never did with the computer because I prefer myself the good old book. You can turn the pages. Why? Because it's a slower process, and I have the feeling I can go deeper with a book. Okay.
Yeah.
But your statement is your scenario is perfectly valid, Grigor. I mean, it can work with a computer. You open a laptop in the middle of somewhere and you watch the screen. Okay. But typically, the idea is to create some symbolic action that reproduce the access to the memory.
Yeah.
Okay. You can introduce many little tricks and details in the scenario. I gave you the simple way. Once you finish to get your book, you put your book on the shelf and you take the stairs up and return, like I explained in the previous scenario. So you can do whatever you like, but this is a typical self-hypnosis action you can perform.
Yeah, very well. Yes, so I just wanted once again to point out that we have always this liberty of manipulating the symbols, the environment, just to make it suitable for our purposes and our mindsets.
Yes, it is. So I can just summarize saying that you need first to be well prepared. You need to find the very best symbols that fits to you, you can be inspired by our discussion today in this video. But remember, the more it is personalized, is fitting yourself and your background, your experience, the best it is. Okay. So you have a background protocol for filling with all your resources, and you have a front protocol for instance, access to your knowledge. Once and the one and the other can be used every day. Okay. One is a kind of permanent state, and the other will be for a specific moment of a game. Remember, the suggestion is important. What will you say to yourself when you are in the library? For instance, it has to be a valid statement, like, tomorrow when I will play my game, I will have access to all these books easily and get the answers I need. My brain, my mind will have access to these books and knowledge. I trust. And this is it. So you have to state something. It is important. This is also called the suggestion. You need good suggestions in every of these protocols, but it has to be a simple suggestions, not complex one, with simple verb and simple statement. Okay.
Of course. Okay, it sounds very interesting and very practical. Some ready-to-use tool that we always have within us. Richard summarized everything in a very succinct way. Of course, you will get also access to some written protocols in PDF files. This is this goes without saying. So thank you very much, Richard, for this very interesting conversation, and I'm sure that our viewers, as well as I, will see tremendous benefits from your protocols and from your concepts.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure. See you next.
See you on the next episode.